So the next presenter who's going to be doing a cut for us is the Wool lead educator here in the UK, Mr. Sam Campagna. So please enjoy. Lots of comments coming in. Don't forget to click into any links while Sam's working, but enjoy the next 45 minutes, which is Sam himself.
Hi everyone, welcome back to this 24 live event hosted by the Barber's Arms. My name's Sam Campagna, the lead educator at Wool. I've got Amber here. I'm going to show you some techniques that we've been working on at Wool HQ. And one of them was one of the haircuts that I introduced with Simon, which was the teardrop pixie cut. So this isn't going to be a pixie cut, but we're going to use the same technique, so it will kind of give you an idea. We're going to kind of fade in the sides, maybe put a little bit of detail into Amber's hair. So what we'll do is we'll start off with the top. So as you can see, it's fairly long. For those that are not familiar with the teardrop haircut, what we do is we end up angling the fringe over to one side, and that gives us a really nice asymmetrical look over on the hair. So the first product that we're going to be using today is the Chrome Style 2. This will come with the standard blade for now. So we refer to this as the cutting blade, which is something, again, you can look on your dashboard there and have a little bit more information on it. So we put that on. We're on normal setting. So we're going to take a little bit of the actual length out of Amber's hair right now. So we're going to just put our guideline in, and this is great because it just gives us a nice clean cut through the hair. It's just nice and square. It gives us a really good starting point. So we can follow that through. So we've just got a really nice strong guide all the way through the hair. As you can see, just really nice and strong through there. And we'll be doing that, putting our layers in. I'm going to leave the front slightly disconnected in this case, just to give us a little bit more play with the teardrop. As you can see, again, just really nice and square. One of the greatest things about this clipper is that it's completely waterproof. So when it comes down to using it on wet hair, it's fully safe to use in that way. So I cut a lot of long hair, female long hair, with this. Once we've kind of had a shampoo and come back to us. So this is a kind of the first tool I'd pick up. And the other good thing, obviously, we've got our interchangeable blades. So we've got the all-in-one blade, which is something I'll be using in a little while to add a little bit of texture. So as you can see, I'm just working through the sides. I want to keep it disconnected slightly, but still keep the square look here. So again, we'll be here, kind of leaving a little bit of disconnection through the fringe there. But again, just squaring it up. Really grabbing that 90-degree angle. So as you can see, we're kind of getting our shape using this tool. Something we do a lot at the academy is we teach people how to hold this in the right way. It's something that kind of at first can feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it just becomes such second nature. It's a bit like, you know, when you get used to just holding your scissors, it's just so natural in the end, and it's just about having that there so you can hold both in your hand, your comb and your clipper. And that just helps you work really efficiently. So just checking this through.
So Sam, we have a question coming in. It's just when we are watching virtual education, if you were watching education at home, because it's so different to when you're normally doing a live demo, what kind of tips would you give for people watching to get the most from it by watching it on screen? What can they do to get the most from it?
Well, I think in this case, the way I look at it is we're showing you, the uses of our tools, understanding the products that we're using. So the most important thing to focus on is obviously the haircut and the results we're getting, but it's also how we're using the tools and the techniques we're using them to. A lot along with online education is we don't want to complicate the process for you viewers at home. At the end of the day, we're live, so we're working in real time like we would on stage. So we're trying to fit in the most amount of information based around technique and the finished result that we possibly can. So saying that, I'll go over the technique now for the teardrop fringe. So as I said, we're going to kind of have an asymmetrical shape. So if we want the fringe this way, we're going to start on the other side, and we're going to take our first section here. So we can normally split this into 3 or 4. So 1, 2, 3, and then we'll over direct the last one across all of it. Just give us a little bit more of a dampen down. So as you can see here, I'm going to pick up my first section, bring it down away from the face, and the angle that I'm going to be cutting, we're going to kind of follow what the transition is here. So we're using this transition line to cut our first guide for the fringe. So that's our starting point. We're then going to bring another one over to the same point. And you'll see a slight overlap. So you can see your baseline underneath. And again, we're going to take that off that way. And you do the same, you repeat the process till there's nothing left to over direct. And of course you can do this as aggressively and as passively as you like. So you do have a stronger and a softer option with this. And then obviously as we push it this side, you can see the direction of the fringe. So we've got all our length over directed. Obviously we've done this side, so we've got the shortness through here and the longest through the other side. So as I said with Amber's hair, we're not going to kind of wear it down, but obviously we're going to have an effect to that as we wear it up. So something that can be interpreted into like a modern gents cut. So someone who wants it a little bit longer on top, wants it wavy, but obviously we've got to, manage the fringe area. It's something again that we can use through into a lot of haircuts, even kind of side partings, just because of the graduation. So I'm going to flick over to my all-in-one blade. So we had the standard blade here, which was this one. I'm going to pop our all-in-one blade on. For those who have never come across this, we use it for razoring techniques, texturing, thinning, and it does vary on what settings we have it on. So I'm going to put it on the more kind of cutting technique, which is an open blade, and we're going to use that to kind of heavily texture the hair, and then we're going to put the setting to the close setting, which will help us kind of give us more of a razor effect. So as we're coming through here, I'm actually just going to peel through the hair. So again, I'm using it going forward. So we just want to rest the base of this clipper on the head, okay? And don't worry, once we put it on the hair, it's just not going to instantly cut. So it doesn't work in the same way as a clipper in terms of like a standard kind of fade clipper. So as you see, we're going to pop it on the head and we're just going to bring it forward. So we're just bringing it forward into the hair. So we're just peeling. We're peeling the texture out of the top of the hair. Something that a lot of the guys here, and I have the pleasure of hosting this from one of my salons in the UK, all the guys here have started picking up on. They've seen me do it, they see the results, and just pick it up. Well, a lot of the time they're actually stealing my products, but I kind of let them because I know they're going to progress. So again, they're kind of seeing this result of the peeling, and I'll show you another technique in a sec. So as we go into the razoring of the hair, adding texture, we'll do a little bit of what we call flick and smack. So as the razor's closed, as the blade's closed, it gives us that razor effect, and we can use that there. When I started off years ago using a razor blade for this technique, I find this just gives us a little bit more control and a little bit more accuracy. So as we're doing it, we're not meandering into the kind of unknown with an ultra sharp razor blade that can kind of quite easily go wrong. We've got a lot of tolerance here. So as you can see now, I've closed that blade. So the close setting. And what we're going to do in this case is just lift up the hair here. Okay, and we start like this, and we're going to lift it and flick it at the same time. Okay, so as we go up here, we're just going to flick through the hair. We start taking out the weight. So you can see on my comb there, we've taken a lot of the weight out of the hair. And we're just starting to adjust the shape. So again, here through here, we can lift it up, and we can just keep working through the hair.
So for people who are watching this, Sam, now, so if you are watching us, and don't forget, if you're in the education room as well, don't forget to stay behind afterwards as well. You can click into all the links that's there to have a look a little bit more in depth of some of the wall products. But Sam, people are asking as well, just what's the differences between using an all-in-one blade for doing a little bit of razoring and also like instead of chipping in and twisting sections? What do you find the most effective way of using that blade?
Well, I mean, two of them were the ones that I've just showed you. So in terms of peeling, we do another haircut called the Lloyd. So something that we kind of directionally peel, and that gives us a different effect. So it kind of helps us keep the haircut square, which I find really useful, especially when you're trying to create that extra squareness. So we can take and we can choose a little bit of the area where we're taking the weight out in a much more effective way. Flick and smack really helps with you kind of have a heavy fringe, and we're just taking like the weight out of the edge. So I sometimes find when we used to twist, twisting and using scissors is not something that I used to overly use in terms of the result with scissors and doing that. I found it a little bit less accurate. So in this case, it just gives me a really good idea, especially if I'm peeling or flicking and smacking, that I can pick up the area that I can see the way, a bit like when you're scissor over combing, so I can get to that area. And obviously in slow motion, you're kind of just flicking that weight out. So obviously in fast speed, it looks like we're just kind of flicking it out like this, which we are, but you obviously can see that in real time when you're using the clipper in this way. Obviously kind of around the neck area, as we're seeing like longer hairstyles, is something that's really nice to break up the hair. The only time I kind of recommend this in a dry way is just to kind of have it closed, use it around the edges of the fringe just to thin it out, same around the back of the neck. They're the kind of ways that I feel that it works at its best. So as you can see, like I've got loads of texture now in Amber's hair, and it's kind of just starting to sit up and do what it wants by itself. So what we're going to do is I'm going to work down to a fade now. So I'm going to use the Magics. For those guys who haven't used the Magics before, we've got a back fade blade on this, so it's nice and flat at the back there. So it helps us stay nice and close to the head. And on the front here, we've got one of the crunch blades. So this really helps us smoke in and blend out and crunch out those lines, as you can see there. A clipper that is not recommended on higher guards, so like 4, 3, 2, kind of maybe start with a 1.5 guard as a max guide for this. Other clippers with a kind of blade that's designed to remove bulk is always better. So something like the Chrome Style 2 that I was using with the guards is really good for removing bulk. So as you can see here, I'm actually just going to start as I do, which we can see the transition has been softened by the fact that I was using the all-in-one blade and taking out the weight there into the transition. So it's just going to be much easier for me with both techniques, with both clippers, using the chrome style to take out the weight, and now I'm going to be using the magic to perform my fade. So it's just going to marry those two up a little bit better. I always start with an open blade. Something I teach on the courses, on the fade courses, is to always just remember your decimal point. So your 0.5, your halves, I'll refer to as a decimal point, just to help clarify that those steps in between the fade. I've got a little gadget here which I'm going to take the mask off Amber's face, or at least around the ears, not her face. I'll just help it sit there and help us work. Something we've found really helpful. So you can see there, 1.5 guard open. I'm just going to work into the transition. Again, something else that I tend to be quite forceful on is when we're doing a fade course like this, I always refer to the tools we use have a purpose. So, the guards have a curved edge to them, which you can see on most of the guards is this part here. We should use that when we're getting closer up to fades, to really use that as a pivot point to keep our 90-degree angle. And this will also help us have a smooth transition. So now I'm going to close that and I'm just going to work down. And as you can see, we're just getting a much smoother fade here. I want to leave it a little bit heavier in the transition for this cut. So then we work down our guards again. So again, remembering the decimal point, we would move down to our 1 guard and obviously open it, and opening it is referring to like the 0.5, so the decimal in this case. So again, working downwards this time. And then closed. So we've done our step there, 1.5, 1, and now into a half. So for some of you who may think I've missed out a guard, for this demonstration, I've done it on purpose. So obviously we've got our 0.5 guard. So I used the 0.5 with the clipper by itself. So bare blade clipper, open up the clipper, and that's a 0.5. Obviously then we've got a 0.5 guard. And obviously that's kind of a slight difference. And sometimes I'll refer to this as 0.75 when you open your clipper. So popping that on now, you can see I've kind of ended up with a little bit of a touch of a line, so a little bit of imperfections. It's something that by using the 0.5 guard or using the technique of working down the guards, this helps us achieve the fade a little bit better. And then closed. So we're keeping those steps and that process in place. So moving on, in this case I'm going to use the beret just to do some outlining. Obviously we've got kind of a smaller blade here, so we haven't got the T-blade on this. It's a lovely clipper, gets it nice and strong. Got a little bit more control on Amber's hair here. So I'm just going to use that to flick out the final part of the fade. Just strengthening up that front hairline. So I'll do the other side as well to show you, and I'll do it a little bit more in real time so you can see what we're doing. So just move Amber's fringe out of the way. And again, we've softened the transition before using the all-in-one blade, so our starting point's a lot easier. Make sure the fringe is kept separate.
Remember guys, while you're watching all our demonstrations today as well, whilst you're in the interactive room, that's where you can click into the links and have a look a little bit more about the Chrome 2 style that Sam's using, the Magic Clip, the all-in-one blade. There'll be more information on there, and there will be prices as well and directly if you want to purchase these products. That's when you can do so. Don't forget as well, throughout the next 24 hours, September the 20th and the 21st, we are not only in the UK, but we are going over to Europe as well. We're going over to North America, we're going into China, and we're going into Australia and India. So this is all coming up here on Barber's Arms.
So as you can see, I've done my first step there with the 1.5 open. And now we're on the 1 guard open, just remembering my decimal.
Don't forget guys as well, if you miss any of the sessions whilst you're working with us on the 20th and the 21st as well, you can always catch up on everything and have a look on our website, which is thebarbersarms.co.uk, and all the stuff that we did on the 6th as well is already up there as well, so you can always click back in and look at any of the education sets that the guys are using.
So this time I'll do it in the steps that I would do originally, which is now to my 1/2 guard open. As you can see with Amber's hair, we've got a much smoother transition between all the guards with that.
Sam, for everybody who's watching as well, what's the importance about having, we've got lots of clippers behind you and we have lots more than that, but Can you get away now just using the clipper and a trimmer, or is it important to have a variety of clippers?
Well, my unit here generally internally is full with anything from 5, 6 clippers. And for the guys who watched our first event on the 6th, I kind of touched upon it. We used to have one clipper to do multiple jobs. So you probably can use one clipper to do all the jobs. However, it's about doing them efficiently. It's about doing them, you know, in a much more organized way. So again, going back to the design feature of the clippers, each clipper has got its own distinct feature, and the design of these things are engineered in a way to complement what that is. So for example, you know, something like the anniversary, the 100-year anniversary, which if you didn't get one, you'll probably be gutted in a few years' time, as these collect value. So these have got a little bit more of a bulk blade on them. So it's something apart from the metal casing, which is really nice, but we've got a nice kind of bulk clipper removal there. So stuff like 5, 6 upwards is something that's really good. But then we've got obviously our senior, which between my senior and my magic are my 2 fade blades. So depending what fade I'm using and depending what kind of hair I'm using, I will switch between the 2. Generally, if a fade's harder, takes a lot more to grab the lines out, I tend to refer to my magics. When we start going a little bit higher up in terms of guards, I'll use my senior. So I mix these 2. So the lower down I go, and the more kind of stretch the fade I want, I tend to use the magics, and I obviously switch between these 2 for certain fades. So then we've kind of got these 2 fade blades. Something like the chrome style is something obviously I'll switch blades with, so I've got kind of 2 uses with 1 clipper. If you're someone who uses this a lot in your salon, then you know, there's the great, it's got like 180 minutes battery life, so it's huge. You've basically got the standard blade, so we use that for cutting, and the texture blade. So again, something I use and vary through the haircuts we do during the day. The good thing obviously in our salon is we just cut all different types of hair, so ladies, gents, to us, hair's hair. So we kind of need that variation in tools to make sure that we've got everything to get the right result that we want and the client wants. So I'm just going to take this gadget off Amber's hair. Just using a fade brush just to take off any hair on the scalp, something that, again, is important to us when you're working so close and with such short hair. We kind of want to see the surface that we're working on. So I just do the back of Amber's hair, as we've had these masks on, so we've got to work around that. Now, it was really nice. Our first event, we had a great response. I was getting loads of messages afterwards of people saying how much they enjoyed it. And where they could rewatch it. So again, you can go onto the Barber's Arms website, and I'm pretty sure it's under an archive link, and you can rewatch myself, Gary Machin, Simon Shaw, and a few others there doing their bits. And obviously this one, you'll have hours of fun with the amount of people that are going to be on this, loads of people around the world. I think Anna's doing one from China, and a few people that I've worked with through Wool globally.
So questions just coming in off people as well. All the products that you're seeing that's being used in this session and most of the sessions that's coming up in the dashboard here in the interactive room, just click on the cart and slide to view or to even buy. So that is all available in the interactive room, guys.
I'm just going to pop the same detail on this side of Amber's hair, just using this to strengthen that edge.
Just talking about trimmers as well, Sam, there's obviously lots of different trimmers in the market, but I think today you're using the beret and the cordless detailer. Just tell everybody who's watching just how good they are and how you use them in your shop.
So the beret, a lot of the time, I mean, they're both great products and both cut really well. I suppose the distinct features are the beret, I just find a little bit easier to work on smaller surfaces. So some people refer to it as, well, they use it on kids' hair because obviously they've got smaller surface area to use it on. So as you can see, like these areas here are a little bit shorter. Again, not something I use for bulk or anything like that. And my detailers, I literally use in the term that a detailer, we know what it stands for. I use it for a lot of detailing, fringe detailing, any kind of pattern detailing, stuff like that. I find it really, really useful. Obviously, it's got a bit of a longer blade on it. So we've got the T blade on that. So obviously it's much wider than the beret. And for those who had the wired version, I just find this extremely comfortable now that we haven't got a wire on it. So I'll just show you now on Amber's hair. We'll pop a little bit of detail in. So you can just see, just get a one hit and you can see what that's done there. Okay. Again, one hit. And I've already kind of, you can see how sharp that is just with one hit there. Obviously I can play with this and I can sharpen it up a lot more on Amber's hair. So we can widen it up a little bit at one edge if we wish. Again, through there, you just drag the clipper down slightly. And that kind of gives you a good representation of having that wider blade. Obviously, if you're doing lines or you're doing patterns, it just gives us a little bit more surface area to cover when we're doing it. Obviously, you can use the corners. So with this being wider and the body not being in the way, it's much easier to use as on a corner. So you've got a lot more pivot point, something we find really useful, you know, even around the kind of frontal area there. And I suppose they're the two main differences, unless you want to kind of, you know, you look at body and what you're comfortable with. Those things I feel also come into play, but the general technical aspect is, that's what I find and how we use them in the shop here. So what we'll do is I'm going to give Amber's hair a dry now. And we're just going to use a little bit of our Wall Academy clay, something I really enjoy putting in, and kind of slightly damp hair, if we can open it. It's really tough. Lucky we're live.
Camera's assistant.
Yeah.
Not at that. I don't think you are using
No.
it.
It's really tough. So we'll move on. So we'll use our fibre in the same way. So again, something you can blow dry into slightly damp hair.
Don't forget, guys, whilst you're in the interactive room as well, you can see the links there and click in for some of these special offers and product information that's on there. And whilst you've got 24 hours, we're not only here in the UK, we've also been over to Europe, we are in India, we are in Australia, North America and China. All coming up here on Bazaar.
I'm sure you can all hear me fine, but I'm using one of our new quick dryers. This is really powerful. I mean, I've got this on medium. I'm not really putting much effort in, and it's kind of drying the hair straight away. So if I've pumped up the speed, it's also got our cold bath button, so it's something I use quite often in the salon just to help set the hair. So one of the final steps is obviously putting my standard blade back on the Chrome Style 2. So I'm just working on that for those final bits of the transition. So you can start seeing the effect here of the teardrop fringe, how I've kind of ended up with that really nice gradual fade into the weight there. Again, just removing some of that bulk in a transition. Something this is really good for as well, so it's nice and powerful. Being microchipped compared to some of the other clippers, the motor doesn't ever slow down, so it kind of helps break down that hair a lot quicker. So I'm going to show you here. So we're really using that to break it in. And a lot of the time, again, when people do clipper over comb, sometimes they find that it can be a little bit strong. So if you're remembering the steps from before and you've been watching the haircut throughout, using our all-in-one blade on the same clipper here, we took down that weight, we broke that down, gave us an easier platform to start breaking down the hair and using that to our advantage to get a smoother transition in our fade to the top of the haircut. So I'm pretty much done with Amber's hair here. Obviously what I kind of want to show you and what we want to go over at these bits here just to kind of give you an idea and a recap of what we've done. So we used our Chrome Style 2 with a standard blade. So we used that for cutting. So that became our cutting blade. We can cut that on wet hair because the body is waterproof. Then we texturized the hair. So we gave it lots of nice texture. So as you can see, the hair's kind of sitting up on itself and all that lovely texture gives you a lot of creativity and stuff to play with. So you could wear this in turn smoothly and you'd get a nice weight balance. And obviously you could wear it much more textured and get a more, aggressive and creative look. Then we use the standard blade also to create what we call our teardrop fringe. So we graduate the fringe asymmetrically from this side to that side. So we end up with a short layer on this side going into long. And again, you could wear this down and you'd have a nice swooping fringe that's kind of suitable for pixie cuts. And in this case, you can use it on much kind of shorter and even somewhat preppy looks. Obviously, if we took Amber's fringe here and tucked it to one side and had it all back, you can see how that would work there also. So then we went for our fade. And again, something we do teach on our fade course normally when we're allowed to, well, right now we're not, is just always to remember our decimal. So as you go down the guards, just to remember our 0.5s, our half guards, remember to use that lever and open that up, as well as some of the guards that are already in a 0.5 format, so your 1.5 guard or your 0.5. We use the magic clip to achieve the fade. We use the berets to achieve the outlines and make all the edges stronger. And as you can see, I just demoed what the benefits of like the wide blade or the wide T blade on the detailer is for. So stuff like creating just a nice edge. That was one hit there. And I'm sure if you look back, you can see that again. Just one hit there. You can use that to widen it up, but I didn't have to put too much effort in given that the wide blade and the sharpness of the blade itself. So we just finished it off with some product. And I really like the kind of texture and creativity you can get from a haircut like this. I think we're at the end now. So just like to thank everyone for watching on behalf of Wall and the BBA. And yeah, hope you enjoy. Check out all the other videos later on today. And I'm sure you'll be hearing from Simon Shaw very soon. Thank you.
Thanks to Sam. Don't forget, stay tuned as well. Keep looking at today's and tomorrow's diary. As we said, we're fetching new presenters, not only here from the UK, also into Europe, into China, into India, Australia, and North America. Will be joining us here on our Barbazam's 24-hour education. If you're in the interactive room as well, guys, this is where you can click in to have a look at some of the products in more detail, or click into your cart as well, and that should take you there. So stay tuned, and we will see you throughout the next 20.
Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed that demo of a teardrop creative cut. It was lovely to be able to share it with you guys. Again, I hope I've answered all your questions on there. A lot of it was what is the difference between some clippers. Obviously that's something we teach at Wall on our courses as well, but obviously in brief there's some of those questions there that you can have the answers to. I hope you've been enjoying it, and yeah, stay tuned. We've got myself doing a shave later, which is something that a lot of people ask a lot of questions about. So yeah, join us later and enjoy the rest of the show.
Areas where it is a little bit patchy or the density isn't as strong, it will take too much off and we can't disguise anything. So remember, you know, I'm not saying you can't wear guards, use guards, but the main thing is when we're using guards, you've got to remember that they will take it off to one particular length. Now with beards, we have to usually really personalize a beard, so we might be taking more off here than we would off here or here or here. So I tend to like And what tends to happen is, the longer the beard, the less chance you've got of using a guard. If somebody wants a number one all over it on his beard, and he's got a really, really dense, equal looking beard, then that's fine. But with people like Richard, we need to really personalise the beard. So there's no secret to beards. You know, we're using exactly the same techniques. It's just how you're adapting those techniques. So starting from the side, we're going to disconnect his beard, but we'll do that when we take the glasses off in a minute and we go around the back and side. So what we're doing is we get starting at the side, we're working in overlapping panels like we did before with the haircut, and we're just smoothing the beard. Now I know Richard doesn't like his beard too short, so I'm going shorter on the sides to give him that thinner, so it's giving him a profile as a thinner look, and then we're gradually getting the beard so it's a little bit longer in the front. So again, we're going starting with ours on the side, overlapping panels, and we're going through the beard. Off at a time. Don't go in for the big hit straight away. You just need nice and smooth, and all what's coming through my comb, I'm keeping it. I use the technique, and I pinch this term, but we're anchored, pivot, and suspend, and I think that really holds true when we're working with beards. We anchor the comb to get our initial guide in. Then we pivot, and this gives us how much hair we're going to take off, and then we suspend, because when we're coming off the beard, we're not touching the skin now, we're just taking little bits off to give us the perfect beard shape. So as you can see, we've smoothed the side already. We've got rid of the lump underneath his chin. And remember, when we do work with the beard, we always bring the head back to the natural position in between cuts, because if we stretch the neck like this all the time, it affects the shape of our beard, and we can see that a line forms again. So always keep maneuvering the client so you get a true reflection of what the beard looks like. So again, nice and smooth, just coming through there. We're going to do top half of the moustache as well, and he's down. Okay. Comb it down in between. We don't just keep cutting, we comb it down to smooth the beard. Keeping the comb between the clipper and the lip. Nice and smooth, and then full blade, but we're just going to literally touch the lip. We're not any force at all. And we just nice and gently, we don't want to be touching the pink of the lip, because if we do, there's a chance of cutting him. So using the corner, and remember we're roughing the shape in. We're going to use our detailer in a minute to define and detail our beard. Again, just onto the top lip, and you can see how perfect the top lip looks now. Coming through here. If you do miss any of our broadcasts, if you do miss any of the events, this will be going back onto the site. Please share the barbersarms.co.uk. If you go back on there, you can pick up any of the things, any of the educators that you've missed at a later date. After the event itself is finished, they will become available. Okay, so you can see the difference now straight away with this side and this side. So we're moving round to the other side. So you can see how much smoother we're looking, and how much you see how the original shape is here. And this is just the first stage of what we're doing. So again, smoothing the beard. Looking great. And we're working at normal time. I know we're talking at the same time. We wouldn't usually talk in the client's face, especially at these difficult times. But we are wearing masks. We can't obviously client wear a mask. If it was just a haircut, we'd be wearing a mask for the client. But we can't wear a mask if we're doing close proximity work. So we're not actually in the client's face. We're trying to keep just to the side of the client. Again, bring the head forward just to check so we can see we haven't got this bulge again. So again, pushing back. Nicely smooth that onto his chin. And we're trying to give a uniform look. Move the client so you can work on him. Don't, overstretch. Remember, you're doing this every day, all day. Fatigue is a factor. So try and make it as easy and as accessible as possible for you, the barber or the stylist. You're in control. Ask the client to help you if you need to. So again, just taking. So we've done the top lip. We've got the down stands here. Just checking. We comb all this out. Just got a little bit here. I tend to like to work from my favourite side is from this side. So I'm just going to move round again. Bring him up. And I said before, we've just got to try and conceal this. So we're taking a little bit more off his actual chin area. Okay. And we're keeping a little bit more here and taking a little bit below. So it all looks the same. And this is how we can disguise and work with clients. Hair patterns, hair growth patterns, the density. So it's looking great, looking good now. So we've sketched our first part of the shaping. Now we're going to use our detailers. I'm going to go around the haircut as well. I'm just going to do a complimentary flick out around the sides. But I'm going to finish that when we've taken the goggles off, because as you can see, he's covering where I want to be. So I'm going to do his cheeks, round his mouth, round his moustache, and put his line in ready for when I do my wet shave. So remember, lot finer blade now. This is our detailer. Fantastic, changed the industry when it came out. Our close work trimmer, because now we can actually put our fine line in, as you'll see in a minute, and it works fantastically. We have got another something else up our sleeves that we can use if you're not used to, or if you don't want to use a wet razor, a wet shave, an open razor. But this is something that you should be doing now. It's a really great skill to have as a barber. So, and we can do it from the 15th. So we've been doing it now for just over 4 weeks. So we touch where we need to be, and then we clean up to the line. Okay, so this is differently than when we do it if we were doing a line out, say in the neck area or something, because we flick out from the top. We do not drag down, we do not try and push, because there is always the chance that you've got open pores here and it can snag. So we just clean out, put our shape in, work through our edges. And you can see, we haven't got a great deal of work to do with our razor, but it will make all the difference, I assure you. So we tip the head back very slightly, and now we're just going to line him out. We clean up to the line, not against the grain, because it can snag and pull as well. So again, just retouch that line. Hasn't got time to clean up, even if he comes in from work and he wants just his beard shape putting in, we can still do this, can't we? So again, just touching the line, and then we clean up to the line. Just very gently, just taking that there, and then just making sure around his mouth is perfect. Okay, so we've done one side, and we've been normally working in a mirror now as well. So remember, we need to make sure the balance and symmetry is exactly